Welcome to AI Daily for July 18th, 2026. This rolling edition covers developments published by 8:41 and 15 seconds AM, Singapore time. Kimi K3 gained coding signals from Arena and artificial analysis. GitHub made Copilot code review configurable and put hosted reviews behind the default firewall. Oracle introduced enterprise AI for dedicated cloud. NVIDIA posted an agent memory ranking. AWS and Smartsheet published their MCP architecture. And BetterUp said its AI management system earned an independently audited certification. Today's theme: the model matters, but the operating boundary is becoming the product. Kimi K3 now has coding-focused results from 2 evaluation platforms. Arena says that, for the first time, China took the lead over the United States in front-end code arena. Artificial Analysis reports that Kimi K3 in Kimi Code CLI scored 57 and ranked joint 5th overall on the Artificial Analysis Coding Agent Index. These are task-specific publisher reports, not a general model ranking. Arena's first post says that, for the first time, China took the lead over the United States in front-end code. Arena with Kimi K3. Arena added that the last Chinese model to come close was DeepSeek R1 in early 2025. A later authored follow-up showed Kimi K3 against Fable 5 on identical front-end prompts. Artificial Analysis reports that Kimi K3, running through Kimi Code CLI, scored 57 and ranked joint 5th overall on its coding agent index. It placed just behind Grok 4.5, in line with GPT 5.6, Terra, and GPT 5.5, and ahead of Opus 4.8. For coding teams, the useful change is triangulation. Arena presents finished front-end outputs on identical prompts, while Artificial Analysis reports a coding agent score through Kimi Code CLI. Together, they provide 2 task-specific baselines that teams can challenge with their own repositories, prompts, and acceptance tests. Keep the scope tight. Arena and Artificial Analysis summarize their own evaluation systems on X. Arena's authored follow-up did not report an aggregate result for its identical prompt comparison. These results do not establish Kimi K3 as the best general model, the best coding model for every stack, or a permanent leaderboard leader. GitHub has expanded Copilot code review into a more repository-aware execution environment. The service now reads more instruction files, supports review-specific setup steps and runners, and puts hosted review traffic behind a firewall enabled by default. Custom instructions now come from the pull request's head branch, so teams can test review behavior before merging. GitHub says Copilot reads Copilot instructions, scoped instruction files, agent skills, and agents.md, plus review.md, Gemini.md, and Claude.md. A dedicated Copilot code review.yaml file can install dependencies, choose repository-level runners, and prepare tools. If that review file is absent, GitHub falls back to an existing Copilot setup steps.yaml file, if present. At the organization level, code review and the Copilot Cloud Agent can now use separate runner configurations. This gives platform teams separate control over review policy, runtime preparation, network access, and compute. Instructions can travel with a feature branch, while review infrastructure no longer has to mirror the cloud agent's configuration. The default firewall applies to hosted reviews and can be configured independently. Self-hosted runners do not support it today, so those reviews continue without that protection. A firewall limits network access. It does not prove that a review is correct, complete, or safe to merge. Oracle has introduced enterprise AI for OCI Dedicated Cloud, aimed at organizations that want generative AI close to sensitive data. The announcement brings locally hosted models and managed AI interfaces inside the same dedicated cloud boundary as other OCI workloads. Oracle presents 3 adoption paths. Customers can use OCI managed models, import validated open source or third-party models, or, if they operate Oracle Alloy, integrate proprietary language models into OCI generative AI. The paths share one service interface and security framework. Oracle says models, prompts, embeddings, training data, model weights, and inference results can remain inside the dedicated cloud environment. Imported models run on dedicated AI clusters and use the same managed APIs, SDKs, endpoints, identity, networking, and operational model. For enterprise builders, that reduces the need to assemble a separate platform for every model strategy. Teams can change model families while preserving a common governance and deployment surface, and keep retrieval, fine-tuning, and inference closer to business data. Oracle says it is introducing the offering, But the announcement does not establish broad general availability. It also omits a complete model catalog, pricing, capacity, hardware, regions, and service levels. Oracle's can remain language describes an architectural option, not automatic proof of regulatory compliance. NVIDIA says its Nemotron 3 Embed family has taken the top 2 positions on LMEB, the 8 billion parameter model at number 1 and the 1 billion model at number 2. The update is about retrieval for memory-heavy agent work, not a new general language model score. NVIDIA frames the smaller checkpoint as close behind the larger one on the same leaderboard. NVIDIA describes LMEB as testing whether embedding models can recover the right details across long-running conversations and other memory-heavy tasks. That targets a failure point for agents that must carry context across sessions. For builders, the ranking creates a practical size comparison for memory retrieval. Test both checkpoints on production data, then measure quality, cost, and latency directly. The post supplies rank order, not the operating trade-off. This is an NVIDIA-stated ranking published on the company's X account. The public material gives ranked positions, but does not provide latency, cost, or a complete methodology sufficient to generalize beyond LMEB. Performance there does not establish general embedding superiority across search, code retrieval, multilingual data, or every retrieval workload. AWS and Smartsheet have published a production case study for a remote MCP server that connects AI clients to Smartsheet data and actions. One MCP layer serves Smartsheet's internal assistant and external clients, giving both the same tools, optimizations, and intelligence stack. Requests cross WAF, Shield, an application load balancer, and OAuth validation before reaching Fargate. The server calls domain services for transactions and a Neptune and Databricks intelligence layer for cross-project insights. Kinesis, Flink, and S3 carry change events into the data layer. Smartsheet combines traffic and compute signals for burst scaling, tests each regional deployment, and runs a multi-step canary every 15 minutes. It also uses progressive disclosure, strict JSON schemas, and proprietary serialization. AWS says internal telemetry shows more than 3 billion tokens saved since launch. The transferable pattern is layered control, authenticate before compute, preserve domain permissions, annotate destructive tools, bound every response, validate parameters at the tool boundary, and trace complete call chains. Together, those controls frame the MCP server as an operated system with explicit security, observability, and token budget decisions. This remains an AWS and Smartsheet case study, not an independent benchmark. The 3 billion token figure comes from internal telemetry, and the reported 35% reduction comes from one representative 33-item filtered query. Neither number guarantees lower cost, fewer hallucinations, or reliable scaling elsewhere without equivalent permissions, testing, and operations. BetterUp says its AI management system earned ISO/IEC 42001 certification after an independent audit by Shellman Compliance, an accredited third-party auditor. BetterUp says the certification scope covers its full portfolio of professional development and coaching services, including Grow. The certified object is BetterUp's AI management system, how the organization designs, develops, tests, deploys, monitors, and continuously improves AI. BetterUp says the certification scope covers its full professional development and coaching portfolio, rather than one isolated feature. BetterUp also describes a human-on-the-loop framework, quarterly evaluations across demographic and scenario dimensions, an AI safety council, and ongoing adversarial testing. BetterUp says it is among the first companies in professional development and coaching technology to earn this certification. For enterprise buyers, a management system audit gives procurement and compliance teams a structured artifact to inspect. It makes questions about ownership, monitoring, evaluation, and continuous improvement more concrete than a broad, responsible AI promise. BetterUp says the certification concerns an AI management system audited against the standard. It does not prove every model output is safe, unbiased, accurate, or lawful in every deployment. BetterUp's product-level safety claims still require ongoing evidence, and customers remain responsible for their own use context. Across this morning's 6 stories, the pattern is operational control. Coding benchmarks are more task-specific. Review agents are gaining repository instructions and network boundaries. Cloud providers are bringing model choice closer to regulated data. Agent platforms are learning to budget tokens. preserve permissions, and trace tool chains. Governance is moving toward auditable management systems. This rolling July 18th edition covers developments published by 8:41 and 15 seconds AM Singapore time, and the day can still change. Subscribe for the refreshed AI Daily and tell us what deserves a deeper breakdown.